Well, it's 3 o'clock. Why don't we call the regular selectmen's meeting to order? There will be no privilege of the floor because we have nobody here. So we should take a look at the minutes of September 10th, 2014. Have people had a chance to take a look at them? I'll get my notes out here.
Is it really hazmat or is it hazmat?
Hazmat, hazardous mitigation. Hazard mitigation.
That was the only question I had.
Hazmat.
I had two. I had expected date is 9/11/14. Was that correct?
Expected date of what?
Completion of the water line project.
I don't know.
Yes,
Okay.
9/11/14.
All right, and then over here on leash dogs discussion. Bill Larson spoke regarding proposing a public hearing on how to best. So maybe if we got rid of the A,
Yeah.
regarding proposing a public. All right, get that?
Yes.
That was it. And the other thing that wasn't clear, but it's a point that's not clear anyways, is further down there it says discussion followed as to whether or not that falls to police or citizens to report.
Yeah, the sentences doesn't, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I read it and it doesn't change the meaning, but
But it
it
just-
doesn't sound right. On line 133, it right now reads bond counsel. I think that should be town council.
No, bond counsel. We have a separate attorney.
Why
for
would
the
you
bond
be referring this issue to the bond council? Read line 133. I don't have it with me, but I made a note.
Is that the
133.
is that the parking of the
Mark
And
report
discussions
with bond-
with that each. This
Yeah.
is relative to the solid waste. The guys who are going to bid on solid waste
Yes.
management. So
Yes,
that is the
because-
bond council.
Yes,
Because we're bonding
Okay.
the building.
we're bonding the building, and bond counsel has to issue the opinion whether or not we can use the building for
Okay,
private
that's
purpose.
fine. Okay, very good. And I think on line 134, it reads, discussion that each bidder, that it's not clear who's bidding here, that each solid waste management company or something provide an alternate bid, add an alternate bid.
Yeah.
So I would just add that as well. Okay? Any other changes? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
so moved?
And second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Financial update.
You have the report there. Are there any questions? We're, continuing on.
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
No, we later going to go over that MS5
Yes.
form,
Mhm.
which is a year-to-date summary of basically all of these numbers.
Well, it's the audit. It's a restatement of the numbers in the audit. So the MS5 here is for 2013.
Oh, okay, because I read
Not
some places.
2014.
Oh, it's not 2014.
No, it is not 2014.
All right. Okay. All right. Because I thought I saw somewhere on the forms it referenced 2014. That's why I said that.
Well, no, all of the it was prepared in 2014, but
it covers
it covers the
last
year.
year's
That's
cycle,
correct.
not this year's cycle.
Mhm.
That's fine.
Mhm.
Okay. No, I had no other questions relative to spending or revenues on this year's budget cycle. Did you?
Nope.
No? Okay. Department head updates. We start with recreation.
Hi there.
Hiya, good.
Well, we have Columbus Day weekend coming up with our 5K race, and that will conclude the boat operations as well.
Okay.
So we are looking pretty good for the race. We already have 74 people pre-registered for that race.
Oh, neat.
Which I believe is, I'd have to double check, but I believe that's more.
Which
Yeah.
is more than the Pinnacle race.
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry I said that.
I think last year we had 64 pre-registered between our 5K and our 1.6K, so we're up to 74 this year. So I'm expecting a good turnout again for that. We've got quite a few sponsorships, so we're looking good on that end as well. And I believe we have the road covered with staff to point everyone in the right direction. So yes, Columbus Day weekend will also wrap up boats, which we're looking forward to that.
Mhm.
We had a really busy weekend down there on Saturday with the Chili Fest.
Mhm.
So it was a lot of good turnout. And the weather's been great too. Our after school program as well, we're seeing quite a few kids turn up for that
Good.
each day of the week. Adult program started back up again actually today. This is the first day, October 1st, so Tom had Tech at the Rec kicking that calendar off, and so we have something basically every day of the week taking place. Minus
Pickleball back?
Oh yeah, pickleball's been actually on there. So,
Oh.
but I think the majority of folks will start coming back here in October to start playing again. What else?
How did the boat numbers look going year to year? How did we make it through September? Are we ahead?
I have to count up September, but each month this year, starting
We've been
back in
ahead.
May, we've been up.
Great.
So,
Okay, good.
yeah, I suspect we'll be ahead.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. What we got here for whatever.
Water meter project is still ongoing, the interior installs. Hopefully we'll wrap most of those up by the end of this month. As you can see, the DPW building is coming along, they're getting it closed in, they're ready to pull wire inside, most all the conduit's up.
Okay.
They started to frame the,
Bunk room.
the bunk room and the bathroom here upstairs. That's framed. I think sheetrock is slated for the end of the week, Friday, Saturday, and things are moving along quite quickly.
Let me ask you a question. On the new well and all this piping and everything else, when do we actually pump water out of there? When do we have a water tasting ceremony or something?
That will be hopefully the beginning of next summer.
Beginning of next summer.
Because-
So we're coming next spring. We're doing what? The
building and the
For the
actual
treatment.
pump installation
pump
out in the national
forest doesn't occur till next spring.
That's
Right.
correct.
All right. And how about the upgrades to the treatment plant?
Same time.
Same time,
Next
same
spring.
contract.
Same
So
contract.
the well itself doesn't actually get turned on then until early summer.
That's correct. We have pumped water out of the new well through the water line that they just
Right.
installed
To make sure
to
it
pressure
did
test
it.
and
Right.
make sure that they're squared away. So we have two contracts left. We have the buildings, the expansion of the treatment plant, and the new pump house, and then we have the water modeling with the engineers to come in and show us where the water actually goes. But we need the new well tied in and the new treatment facilities working before we do the water
And
modeling.
why are we doing water modeling? What is that going to tell us?
That's going to tell us where the water flows are in our system at different use points.
Right.
So when we're at peak use, right now the water has several different paths that it can follow, and we don't know exactly where it's going. We know it's in the system, but we don't know how it's flowing through the system.
And why does one need to know that?
One of the easiest, one of the best features of that would be we would be able to go to hydrant number 58 and start cleaning the system from that point and work in
Okay.
a sequence so that we get the whole entire system cleaned out. Right now, we can start high and go low, or start low and go high, but we don't really know if we're getting everything in the system cleaned out.
And it also matters for treatment, because living at Osceola as we did, there would be times when we were treating chlorinating the water, where we would have very heavy chlorine residual at our condo. Because the water was coming up out of well 2 and basically taking a right and going around Tecumseh, Osceola. If we know where the water is actually going, we can mitigate some of the high residuals that we see in some places.
When they
Contained.
do the water modeling, do they also look at pressures?
Yes, that's
That's
part
all
of it.
part of it.
That's all part of it.
Because periodically, at least I hear complaints from some
Yes.
citizens of either excessive or not enough pressure.
That's right.
Usually excessive
That's right.
pressure, and then apparently the pressure goes down to normal, and then they can't get any pressure
That's right.
because they have restrictions.
And that's because sometimes the water is going up to
Right.
the reservoirs and then coming down,
Right.
and sometimes it's going directly to their properties.
Okay, and at this point, all of the remaining projects are on the government's nickel,
That's correct.
so they're paying for the rest of these.
That's correct.
And have we issued the bonds yet?
No, that's part of what you have to do today to do this
Oh.
extension. We are working on the paperwork now.
We're trying. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're still working on the paperwork.
Yep.
All right, good.
Good.
Any other questions with
No.
roads or no?
Roads are,
Water?
we're
Right.
doing okay.
Have we heard? When do you expect back the quotes on the waste management people?
We will be able to, we'll actually have them for the 15th. You're not gonna be here.
I will not be here for
So
the 15th. Right.
we can, that was part of my questions for future meetings, whether you
Okay.
want to do it on the 22nd, 29th, or put it off to November.
Right, well, when we get there, we'll talk
Yep.
about the meeting going forward. Okay. And we don't have anybody here from public safety.
No, they are,
Do we have any
Out
there? How did their
in the-
award ceremony go?
It was
the
super.
award ceremony
It's
was
very nice.
awesome.
Did you go down?
I did.
Yeah.
Oh,
I wore my
great. I
uniform and
couldn't go
stood
down.
on stage beside
Oh, wonderful.
Jeff Drupp.
Yeah.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
very good, very good.
Yeah.
And
You know,
Yeah.
it was it as those ceremonies go, it was
Yeah.
long, but the stories were very interesting.
Really?
You know, because they were recognizing not only us but also various firemen who had done
Yeah.
some rather miraculous
Right.
rescues and that type of thing. So it was pretty interesting.
Yeah. yep, it was a very good night.
And you won't forget to get something organized for the crew, whatever they
We
want to do?
Yep,
Okay,
yep, absolutely.
all right. Any other questions? We don't
Nope.
have anybody here for police? Okay, good. You're free to go, you're free to stay, whatever you'd like to do.
Well, I'd like to,
Oh,
if we could
he's
talk
not free
about
to
the
go.
schedule, if we could, if we could talk about the schedule for the budgets,
Sure.
and, you know, so I have my memo that I do every year, it's in
Right.
it's in your packet. These are, a lot of these dates are controlled by state law, but right now, we're looking to have our budget discussions between the beginning, well, to have everything tied up before we leave for Christmas holiday. So the meetings in December right now on your schedule are the 10th. And then I know we're not gonna have a meeting on the 24th, so, or the 31st. So right now you're scheduled for one shore meeting in December.
Okay.
And then we could move that to December 3rd and 17th if you'd like. But
Now,
whatever
the
your-
purpose of that meeting in December would be
Well,
to review budgets?
those are your selectmen's meeting possible dates in December.
All right.
You usually have
We have a
several
meeting
other
scheduled for the
meetings.
10th, right?
You currently have a meeting scheduled for the 10th.
And we have, technically, should be a meeting on the 24th,
So, yeah,
which I
obviously,
don't think we want to do
I don't
that,
think we're gonna
right?
do that.
Well,
So what if
I'm free.
you're free.
what if we
Actually, I am free on the 24th.
You
24th.
get out a lot of stuff if you
Right.
go on the 24th. Yeah.
What if we scheduled the meetings for the 3rd and the 17th?
17th, that makes a lot more
Okay.
sense to get the meetings in.
Okay.
We'll get our 2 meetings in December. And then the week of December 8th, you usually set aside a couple of days to meet individually with the
Right.
department heads.
Right.
So if we took the 8th, 9th, 10th, that time frame, you wouldn't have a regular meeting scheduled, but we could set up department meetings for that week if you guys are here. And then we can do the individual meetings.
All right.
At that time.
I think for budget reviews this time, and I can't remember what we've done in the past, but if we have someone who's suggesting a fairly significant change to either they want to change the head count, they want to change the way the department operates, I think it'd be, in a general sense, it'd be worthwhile to talk about those prior to getting them on the week of December 8th or 9th buried in the budget itself. We ought to talk about, and at that kind of a level, if someone's got a suggestion, I think as soon as they know they're thinking about doing that, we ought to talk about that, I think, in advance. I think that would make so that the meetings on the 8th and 9th, then at least from a big framework perspective for each department, we'd kind of know what those big changes were, if any, and if not, it would just be, we're just reviewing the changes to expense items for the current budget.
Well, and that's what I was asking in the memo.
Right.
If you wanted to have exactly that kind of meeting with the department heads to provide your general guidance, because it's a lot of work to go
Right.
through. So if you guys have general
Sure.
guidance,
When are they
that
going to
you-
start on budgets?
Well, they're starting.
Yeah.
We're starting now. So
Can I make a suggestion to turn this around? It might make it a little bit easier for us anyways, because we're coming out of left field for any major budget changes.
okay.
But I would think if the department heads could, and if they have anything anticipated major change to their budget, staffing, or anything like that,
Mhm.
that they provide us with that as a thought in November. So we can have that mentally working on, as opposed to getting it 2 days before we're setting the budget and then having to just try to hash out what the reasoning and what's going on with something within the hour or so we're with the department head. So
Right.
we can maybe, process it a little bit more before we get to
Well,
sitting down.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm trying to do. But I really think we are, again, I think we've had this discussion, we a lot of times drive the budget from the bottom up.
Right.
I'm really looking for, before we do a whole lot of work in proposing something that is not the direction you want us going, that we get some general overall budget guidance
Well, let's talk about it now.
from the board.
From and I'll just go around with them and various board members. From my perspective, one, we've had a fairly significant increase in tax rate this year, and we ought to try to digest that. I don't see anything around town that would suggest to me that we need a significant change in the way we're doing things within the town.
Yeah.
But I'm open I'm always open that somebody can come in with a suggestion, well, here's a proposal, and if we did this down the road, it would save us money. I mean, I'm always interested in those kinds of proposals. Anything that has a return goes beyond this. But in terms of just let's increase spending on day to day, the only area that I think is a little bit up in the air is what if anything are we gonna do with waste management? Because my sense is I hear pushback in terms of we're struggling a little bit coping with what we got now. So that would be the one area that and I'm just saying this off the top of my head that I don't,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Maybe you could tell us.
Right.
But my general direction, me personally, would be hold the line on where we're at.
Okay.
But other than waste management, is there any other areas where we're concerned about going forward?
Well, we've had open discussions, ongoing discussions about my recommendation for the recreation department is that we maintain our staffing the way that we are.
My
I think
thing
we-
is to keep the budget deficit. And now,
Yeah.
because I don't,
Yeah.
and we got into this discussion once
Yeah.
about staffing. To keep that budget deficit at 150,000 a year or less. That's
Okay.
just me personally.
Right,
I don't want to run a bigger deficit than that.
Okay.
All right.
okay,
And the staffing is the staffing,
Okay.
because I don't want, personally, and it's just me personally, I don't want to get into program selection. I can't tell you what to do.
Mhm.
I could tell you who's complaining, but
Has it
Mike,
changed? Has it
you have any
changed?
thoughts?
Has the list
Yeah,
changed
right,
since last
no,
year?
right. More pickleball
no.
courts, but that too will wane. My prediction is in 2 years there'll be nobody playing that game.
There was no one here this summer playing,
There's
so,
pickleball pretty much every day.
yeah.
All
Yeah,
in one
well,
day.
these
Yeah.
things just have life. Mike,
No,
you have any thoughts?
I agree with you. I would just wanted to see if anyone has something
Right.
major, and I think you nailed it perfectly. If you can come up with something, any of the departments say, listen, I want to go out on a limb and do this year, but the reason I'm doing this is because
Right.
years 3, 4, and 5, it's going to be this. Like we've been through
Right,
projects like
absolutely.
this with our realignments.
Sure.
Yeah,
As a-
particularly in terms of capital spending.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody wants to spend capital in order to drive down the usage of electricity, or yeah, but that's the things
Okay,
we ought to
yeah.
think about.
That's why I'm saying, if we can hear them before we're sitting with the department
Right.
head across
That's
one.
helpful.
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely, we'll do that.
All right.
Yeah, and I think we usually do a review of the capital projects, but we
Separate.
had this discussion about the security
Right.
system at last
Right.
meeting. I mean, I think we
Mhm.
need, that to be definitely part of that review, so
Right.
we
Okay.
understand
If that's
that
going to
whole-
become if that's a
Yeah.
priority, then we
Yeah.
ought to get it on the list and talk about it.
Okay.
We
We will have.
I think in the past, we've always taken the approach that in people doing budgets, don't worry about all of the personnel expense items. In other words,
Right.
what the wage rates are going to be, what the general increase is going to be. We'll just discuss that and do it as one separate item.
Right.
Right, and that when they do their budgets, I assume the guidance is what? Use the current year rates,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
that's
that's the easiest thing to do.
We are on year 3 since we have last looked at pay ranges.
Right.
2015 will be year 3. So do you want us to survey the surrounding towns and come in with a proposal to change the pay ranges? I'm not talking about individual pay,
Right.
but the pay plan.
Well, it's probably worth taking a look at. I'm not convinced there will be a lot of change, but
I
I'm
don't
willing
know
to be
if there will
surprised.
be. Yeah.
So,
No,
Yeah.
inflation has not been high,
Right.
I don't anticipate significant changes.
but it's
either.
something we should do on a regular basis, and
Right.
if 3 years seems an appropriate interval,
Okay.
let's do it.
Yeah, I think those kinds of, whatever the interval is, we ought to stick to the interval.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
shouldn't unless there's some extraordinary reason to look at it sooner, we
Mhm.
ought to just stay with the interval.
Yeah.
Likewise, will you think that tax-wise, in terms of the assessed values and the rest, were okay for another year? Or?
I think that's something we ought to consider looking at, is starting a cyclical reval. We're gonna be down around 90%, which is the lower end of our 90 to 110 range that we try to keep. I'm also interested, if you are okay with it, in looking at putting it out to bid and looking at other companies. I think that it just keeps it fresh. I mean, it's been
Yeah.
5 years now that we've been with CMP.
Well, yeah, and who did they? Is somebody replaced Niederman?
They have one of the other principals will take his clients.
Okay. Yeah, it's as good a time as any. Yeah, I think are there other firms in
Oh,
New
yeah,
Hampshire that
there's-
bid on this kind of
There's
work?
5 or 6 other firms.
Right, we ought to do it. What does the 90% mean? That means that houses are selling.
The houses are selling for more than we have them assessed for. We
Okay.
are
And we're at the
Undervalued.
edge of the line right now.
we're at the bottom edge of the line. And remember last year we were at about 94, 95%.
Right.
So, and what we've seen is continuing prices that are either at or above assessed values.
Right, but our reeval was dramatic last time.
The reval
the
corrected
reval on
us
our-
by 6 or 8%,
Right.
but it was higher amongst individual single-family
Right,
homes.
but we don't have that many single-family home sales, but we have a lot of condominium
That's
sales.
right.
That's the
That's
concern
right.
I have, is whether we actually have enough data to do.
It's the same data that we usually have. I mean, we always have limited data. And if you remember the
Right.
last couple of times.
But at
we've
least on
actually
the
had
single-family
time-
homes, we have enough sales to be able to.
No.
No, not
But-
single-family
we-
homes, but we have the condo sales.
Right.
So, and we had to, last time we had to time adjust previous sales, because we are so limited in what we have to look at.
Well, yeah. My only thing is, and I think maybe we ought to put it out for bid, and we can ask some of these questions when we
Right.
get to that point. But it seems to me to go through a reevaluation and say we don't have enough data to be able to reevaluate, so therefore we have to use a lot of windage to get it right. Then we're
not accomplishing what we
we're
need
not
to do.
accomplishing much, if we don't have enough sales data. And
We've had 60, 70 sales this year.
67.
67. That's mostly condos.
Yeah, mostly condos.
And actually, you're going to see a pretty good push in sales in this last quarter coming
Yeah.
up.
little flurry coming
Yeah.
up.
Okay.
There always is.
All right.
So,
All right. Yeah, I would
Um,
suggest that we ought
so-
to put it out for bid, or at least have people come and talk to you or talk to us, or
Yep.
I assume start with you. In terms of what services do they provide, what do they recommend doing. I'm assuming all of this is pretty much dictated by law, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
We can only solicit bids from services that are certified by the state.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? that
The
you
only
guys-
other question I have on the timelines you had showed all of the planning board dates relative to zoning changes.
Correct.
What are the dates if we are going to change an ordinance that needs town vote? What are the dates for when that has to get decided by? I know we'd have to put the wording out, we'd have to recommend it, and then it gets voted at a town meeting. What's the timeline for that?
Not the zoning changes.
Not
but
zoning, just a
regular
change. I'm
ordinances.
down specifically to the dog thing.
You
again.
have until the Board of Selectmen publishes the warrant, you can propose an
Okay,
ordinance.
and that would
Now-
be, when do we put the warrant in?
30 days prior?
It's gonna be February, I'm proposing to have that be around February
11th?
11th to the 13th, because we have to get the town report proofed and to the printers by the 13th.
Okay,
Of
gotcha.
February. So, basically, I think it's best if you have a public hearing, although I don't think you technically have to. You can just you set the warrant at a publicly noticed meeting, your regular
Right.
meetings. But if you hold a public hearing like 14 days prior to that, at least, to give people notice, then that will help solidify it. But I don't think there's anything statutorily where you,
And all town ordinances require a town vote?
yes, if you want to give them any force other than road issues,
Okay.
which is specific to the Board of Selectmen, and dispensing with property and things like that, those are things that fall to the board specifically. If it's outside of that, like the dog ordinance or solid waste, if we want to make any changes to our solid waste enclosures that has been adopted by town meeting
Right.
previously, then you should do it at town meeting.
Town meeting, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Is
Okay,
there any other
No.
questions or big things that the two of you have? No? Okay.
so if we, on calendar, just staying on calendar, should we
Yeah.
take a look at the rest of this month as well?
Yes.
Um,
Now, you are currently, you were scheduled by that calendar up there to have a meeting on October 22nd.
right, I'm not here on the 22nd. I thought we were gonna try to move that to the 29th, or do we wanna stay with the 22nd? What's your pleasures?
You've got a Spear Hospital meeting on that.
That's it's in the morning, that'll be over.
Oh, okay, I got you.
It's over by 9:30.
Mhm.
29th is fine with me. The only request that I've had so far is Chris Beerbreyer would like to come in and talk about the Ray Center. And she was tentatively scheduled for the 22nd.
Mhm.
So,
Well,
Do
she'll
you-
have to tentatively change her schedule.
I'm sorry.
you will.
I'm here
You're-
on the 22nd.
Yeah, you're here on the 22nd. You're not here on the
15th,
15th.
right, yeah,
So
no, let's
let's
stay with the
move-
22nd.
Let's move the meeting from the 15th to
The 22nd. I already moved the meeting. Right,
Okay.
okay.
All right, now are we meeting again next week?
No,
Okay.
we are not meeting on the 8th.
So the next meeting's the
The
22nd.
next meeting will be the 22nd.
Right, okay, got it.
You may be a little jet lagged, but other than that.
No, I should be all right. And by then, that's 2 or 3 days later.
Okay, so the 22nd will be the next meeting.
Okay. New business. We've review and signed the 2014 MS5, but the 2014 MS5, so I've just understood,
Is
is
FY
data relative to 2013.
Yeah.
So this is simply an accounting thing that someone certifies that our numbers are correct?
Yeah, it's done by Paul Mercier, who
Right.
is our auditor. And basically, he takes the financial statements that he prepares in
Right.
accordance with generally accepted
Right,
accounting practices, and he turns them into this state form. So
Okay.
there's 17 pages of numbers here, but they are all the same numbers that are in the audit.
Why does it say it's unaudited?
Where does it say that it's unaudited?
No, I saw it in here somewhere. Might be all the way back at the beginning. That's one of the questions I had. I saw it somewhere.
bye-bye.
Care.
Yep,
The information in here, there are no footnotes or anything else. Like there are supporting comments in the audited financial statements, which there's a note on page 14 as an example. The balance sheet here reflects only the general fund. See the municipality's audited financials for more information on proprietary funds, special revenue funds, or
Here it
capital
is. It's
projects.
on page, which page is this? Preparer certification. And under there it says there's a choice between audited and unaudited,
Yeah,
and it
you're right.
says unaudited.
Where?
Yeah,
I'm
on
sorry.
page 16 of 18.
It's the one we're signing. That's probably why I noticed it.
I don't know why he chose that button. I can certainly.
but this basically
Ask
is
him.
nothing more than a rehash of
Of the audited
Of the
2013.
audited
What we turned in
2013.
last year,
That's correct.
and he's just certifying that it's correct.
Yes.
Okay, it's good enough for me. That's the business they're in.
I don't know why but I will find out why he selected unaudited.
So do we need a motion then to approve the audited 2014 MS5? Did I say that correctly?
2013.
The FY 2013.
Why does it say on my sheet though, on the new business, it's 2014? That's
Well,
why I'm confused.
Because this form actually does say 2014 MS 535. It is for fiscal year
I understand.
2013.
What do you want to call it in the motion?
Call it what it is, 2014 MS
535?
Yep.
Okay, I'll make do I hear then someone want to make a motion to approve the 2014 MS 535?
So moved.
All right, second?
So seconded.
And all those in favor, say aye. There you go. Now we'll sign this. We've talked about the general budget guidance, okay? Rural development loan extension paperwork.
Mhm.
This is, we gotta, again, do what?
Do we get a penalty for this loan extension?
No,
Are you sure?
same interest. I mean, the interest goes on,
Right.
but there's no penalty.
And how long are we asking for an extension for?
I asked him through December 31st, but we will be done by the end of the month. But I'm not taking any chances of having
And
to
that's
come back and
because
do
the
this
government
again.
can't process
We
their
can't
paperwork
process-
on time.
Well, they can't do it in time.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Anything else on the town building project? I know we kind of cut that off. Anything else you want to bring up?
Well, I don't know if you're interested in walking around, if you want to
Yeah.
look at it. We can take some time at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
A couple of
Sure.
things on the, just to go back with the schedule with the rural development loan and the tax rate setting. Bill won't be here for a couple of weeks, starting at the end of this week, right?
Yes.
Right. So are either of the, it's going to be very important, now that we have the MS5 finished,
Mm-hmm.
all of the town's paperwork is done.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in the queue now for tax rate setting.
Right.
We need to try to do that as soon as we can, definitely before the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
If I can schedule it for the 22nd or maybe the 23rd of October, I will.
I think Bill should be here for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Here-
because we
here's-
want to have some
This is
discussion
where my
about.
confusion is again. And,
Yeah.
and when I had this in my mind that what we
Yes.
just approved and signed was an auditor saying your numbers from last year are correct.
That's correct. That's what he said.
What I haven't seen is the numbers for this year. Is that what you're saying you're going to do on the 22nd? We have estimated revenues, estimated expenses, and
aren't
for
these
this
numbers?
year.
Aren't these our year-to-date numbers?
No. Those numbers that I give you
Yes.
on the financial report,
Right.
those are our
Year-to-date
year-to-date
numbers against this
for
year's budget.
revenues and
Right,
expenses
and
for
when we do
2014.
tax rate setting time, we have
That's
to
correct.
go over and say, well, by year end, we expect to be here on
That's
revenues.
Right.
And we can't change the expense
Can't
line,
change
but,
the expenditure.
but can we change the revenue line?
Yes.
You
You
can,
get one more shot at the revenues,
right.
and you get to say, we want to apply more
More or
fund
less
balance.
out
Yeah.
of, because,
balance.
because
Fund
we also can go through the process of saying, we don't expect to spend everything that's in the budget.
That's correct.
Right, so if we have line items that, if we have cash that we don't expect spending,
Yeah.
can we take that into consideration doing tax rate setting as well?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I
So
thought-
you
right,
can apply more fund
right.
balance
So that's
to it.
exactly, yeah. So that's kind of the review. So we're going to do that on the 22nd.
Well, yes, my thing is, you guys have to make those final decisions. We have to get a tax rate.
Right.
Then it goes through what can be almost a week-long review at DRA
Right,
before they certify the rate and
Right.
give it back to us.
right,
We need the tax bills to be out before November 1st
right,
because
We want to get paid
we
December.
got to get paid in December.
Right.
Right.
And we try to give people
Right.
from, the whole month of December to
Right,
pay
gotcha.
it off. So
You're saying that, so therefore you're saying me having a meeting on the 22nd does or does not
it
work?
it does.
But we might have to carry over till the 23rd to just work on the tax number.
That's right. Sometime in that week,
Right, we'll have to
we
finalize.
need to finalize the
Okay,
tax.
that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. All right,
All right.
okay. Got it.
Now, for the rural development loan, this will probably happen before you get back.
Right,
We will probably have all of the paperwork
right.
completed. So,
Do we,
you know what?
do
I'm not
you
even
need a
gonna
motion
rush. I'm not
authorized?
even
You
going to
don't,
rush. I'm going to wait till you get back.
I mean, do you,
I'm gonna wait till
okay,
you get
fine. I was gonna say,
No,
do you
no.
need the,
No,
can't you
don't
just
even
submit
worry
it,
about
or?
Well, no, you guys have to actually
Sign
sign
it.
all the notes
All right,
and all of that. So we'll wait until you get back,
okay.
and we'll set that up for the 22nd also.
Well, if need be, I mean, I'm back on the Monday of
Yeah,
that week,
yeah, but
so.
I don't.
yeah.
It won't be that critical.
Okay, so
All
we'll take a
right.
walk to the building later.
Yeah.
This thing from the Webster Board of Selectmen, where the heck is Webster?
I don't know.
I'd have to-
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this is saying, but I'm suspicious of it.
Well, I had a couple of observations. I almost didn't bring it to you, but I figured it's a selectman to a selectman, so I
Right.
need to show it to you. This has got the potential for going back to the state education funding process
Right,
that we just got out from under.
right.
So this is not necessarily a good thing
It
for us
doesn't sound
to
like
be
it's in our
supporting.
interest.
I don't believe it's in our interest to
But the
support.
problem is the way it's worded.
It's very
If
ambiguous.
yeah, if you were sitting in a town meeting and you read that thing, it looks pretty innocuous.
Exactly.
You know, you say, "Oh yeah, right. I'm in favor of cutting the rate." You know, but they don't realize that that's not might very well not be the consequence.
No, the consequence here is that we'll be sending our money to
Right.
Concord
Right,
to
in
be
the form of another
redistributed.
tax, maybe.
That's
but
right.
yeah. So my guess would be Webster is a town that thinks they would do far better under the other formula, some other formula.
Yeah. Where are they, Margaret?
They're down near Boscawen. They're west of
Okay.
Boscawen and
Okay.
not quite over at the Mount Kearsarge State Forest Park.
And do we have any numbers on the population? On the,
Well, I would say that they're probably a property poor town
Right.
in that part of
Right.
the state.
So do we need to respond to this individual or what?
I don't think you need to if you don't want to.
why don't we table this
You know,
until we find more about it?
it's lack of specificity
Yeah.
in terms of what would happen.
Mhm.
I'm not opposed to having people at the legislature talk about how they ought to fund state education, but I'm
Mhm.
thinking they need to do that, not have towns pass some resolution,
Right.
which will tie their hands, and I don't see the value of that.
They have 1,580 people as
Oh.
of 2000, so they may be a little higher now.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
shall we? My suggestion is to table this until we have more information.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll see what other towns are doing. with it. I'll call Butch, talk to him about
Yeah.
Lincoln, and
I'll make that motion. I'll make the motion to table
Right.
our
Mhm.
response to this until we can.
Till we get some more specificity as to what this is. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. No, motion carries. No privilege of the floor. I do have under board concerns and directives. I have a couple of items. Do you have any?
I've got some non-public items.
Non-public items. I'd like to just do a follow-up. Margaret, I think in the last minute in the minutes, I was reading the minutes about bear baiting.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned to me they thought that in the state of New Hampshire, a town can pass an ordinance prohibiting bear baiting.
Okay.
And I think we ought to just find that out.
Yep.
Obviously it doesn't do any good to do it on our land, but the question is, their land is within our boundaries. Can we prohibit bear baiting?
Okay.
On some
Yep.
of our land?
I'll ask the Forest Service that.
Yeah.
How that would apply.
And the Brocs, has there been
Yeah.
any follow-up on that?
Yes, I had a discussion
Right.
with the district ranger.
Yeah.
It is a multi-year process if it could be done. There is some interest from
Right.
the White Mountain National Forest about it, but it's not going to be very favorable to the town or to the Brocs. It's something where, if you look at their land, it's going to get valued by the Forest Service very low. It's not on any major roads. It's the middle of the woods. It's undeveloped. So consequently, it's going to have a very low per acre value. Any land that would be swapped would be valued pretty high because it would be developable land adjacent to.
Do we
Other
have
developing.
valuations on these properties now that we carry in our tax books?
We do, but they're in current use, so our valuations are extremely low.
Yeah.
Like,
what does it mean? in current-
1,000, a couple thousand
Current
an
use
acre.
means it's undevelopable
Current
and no
use-
plan to develop land,
Right.
where the state gives you a huge exception.
That's
for
right.
taxes.
So the value that we have on that
There's
land is
nothing.
very low.
When we get around to having these people come and do the audit, I would just like someone to do a fair appraisal of what they think that property is worth.
Well, you'd have to take it and figure out how and where you're going to put it into out of current use. That's one of the things that's kind of
Right.
remarkable about the state. If
Well,
you-
we could do we can rezone it right away and take it out of that
It's
category.
not a
You can't.
zoning.
It's not a zoning issue.
zoning issue.
Current use is a
It's zoned.
statewide term.
It's zoned low-density residential.
No, it's not. It's owned rec.
No,
I thought they changed the zoning on that.
no, we didn't change the one by the Brock's property. We changed the one in the southwest corner.
Okay, but not
Over
that
by
one. So
Sandwich,
it is
but
low
not the
density
Brock's. It's
residential.
low-density residential right now.
Okay.
But it's in current use,
Current use
which
is
means that there is a penalty. You have to pay a penalty
to convert
to
the
take it
out of current use and develop it.
and develop it. So that cost has to be figured into the value of the land. So, and it depends on how long it's been in
Been there,
current use
And how much they're
everything
leaving
else.
and how much they're
And
taking.
how much they're leaving.
It could be
how much
hundreds
they're
of thousands of
Here's
dollars.
what I'm trying to
Right.
figure out.
taking.
If a developer was interested in developing that property, how much would he be willing to pay for it?
He'd have to figure out the current use
Right.
stipulation,
Yeah,
Right.
which
And,
you don't know until you really take it down.
you'd have to have a plan
Yeah.
because the plan, depending on
You
On how
send it
much
to
you're
the
taking
state when
out.
you take it out of current use, and they tell you how much it's going to cost you to take it out.
gotcha.
yeah.
It's,
So it's plan dependent. It's not just simply looking at 100 acres and saying and
Yep.
making a calculation, because you have to know several factors before you take it out of current use. So there are variables, and I'm not sure we could identify that number.
right.
I can ask the assessors if they could estimate that for us.
Just do an estimate of what
Um,
my problem is you know, it would seem to me the one thing we have to at some point in time is have a number. I realize that they're not gonna trade one piece of land that they think is worth nothing for another piece of land that they think has value. But the truth is all of the land that they would trade it for, we're not getting taxes on anyway, and neither is
know.
the state.
I know.
So I don't know what the state's value of that property is. I mean,
Well,
it's,
I see what you mean.
from what Mark has told me, the state is going to take that value and compare it to land that's not in current use
Right.
as residential lots here.
Right.
So they're going to think of an example. If they were going to take the corner from Triple I Road down 49 to the real estate office, and I think that might be 9 acres there.
10 acres.
Yeah,
right
they
here.
might take that 10 acres and give it a value of $200,000 an acre.
No, they said 300,000 the last time.
So
they asked.
300,000 an acre. So they're going to think that's worth $3
3
million.
million. That's what they asked us.
And then they're going to take Brock's land, and because it's in current use,
That's
and
right.
say it's worth $150 an acre.
Right. So 100 acres is going to be 150,000.
Yeah,
You know, so that's the and
that's why it's going to be
100
forever if it
acres
ever
for
happens.
that's
What?
100 acres for 1 acre.
no, and that's basically what
Yeah.
that's basically what the district ranger was saying.
And it might
gonna
be that
end up
150
with-
acres the Brocks have might cost them $600,000 to take it out of current use.
Right.
And only be allowed to develop 10 acres out of it.
Right. Yeah, it's not
an easy one.
It wasn't, and
Okay.
he thought that it was better for the Forest Service to just talk to the Brocks about because they would
Donating it.
love to have that 100 acres.
So,
It's
you know,
right
they
at the
actually
edge
use
of-
it.
Huh?
They use that land.
Yeah. There's
come
a
up and
couple of
camp.
camps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, the Brocks are moving to the valley.
So the Forest Service is very interested in the lot. They are not interested in a land swap
Okay.
of any kind,
Right.
but they're interested in it. Part of the other
Think
thing
about
that we
that.
talked about
Right.
was the bridge on the Mad River Trail, the rocks and
Yeah.
the bridge.
Yes.
He said he hasn't gotten back to me yet, but he did say that he would go back and talk to the forest engineer about what the possibilities are. He seemed to be willing to entertain putting back what was there, the little
Bridge?
3-foot
Little
wide
footbridge,
bridge,
yeah.
little footbridge. He looked at the picture that you sent of other crossing points.
Yeah, out on Greeley.
Yeah, out on
yeah.
Greeley.
Yeah.
He said they're working with a lot of different bridge options,
Mm-hmm.
and he said he would be open to it. So hopefully before our next meeting, I'll hear something
Okay.
back from
That's
him.
well. That's good.
But he's willing to talk about it. So,
all right.
Um,
I have no idea what they've. You know, I haven't been out. I know that Greeley Ponds. They've changed the trail quite a bit.
Right.
But I don't. But I walked it the other day. I just got to the point where it looks to me like they tore a bridge out. Were they putting a new bridge in?
Well,
they have been replacing.
They have been
bridges.
replacing bridges.
Well, I
If
didn't.
you go around the place where the bridge got torn out, you go up the hill like you're
Right.
going to timber camp, and
Yeah.
then you continue on that trail, and it goes
Right, I
and it
did.
winds down.
Right, it winds back down to the river,
Right.
and it looks like they took that second bridge out.
Right, and they're putting one in there.
Oh, they are.
But if you
Okay.
continue along there, because we went across the stones and
Right.
continued along, they put in some other bridges. They put in a bridge. Let's see if I can find it in
Okay.
here. That's what I was looking for. I think this is it. Yeah, that was one of their bridges.
No,
Now, it's not over a very big creek. You know, it's
Yeah,
not as
but
wide as
neither
the
is
Mad
this. It's
River.
just as a little
You know,
branch.
it was not over the Mad
No, it's
River.
precedent
but-
setting.
Yeah.
yeah.
But there it is.
Yeah.
You know, they have it on a couple of concrete blocks, and there's no handrails. And
Yeah, there's no. That's right. So there, you know, when he looked at that, he said, "Yeah, you're right. We've got some different options." So
Yeah.
I think we might be able to convince them, even if it's a very simple structure, but just put the bridge back in basically the way it was.
But the stones are good right now. We'll
Mhm.
just see how
No,
long
they're
they
fine.
last.
Yep.
They're in good shape.
But
yeah.
he was open to that.
Okay.
So, and then the black fly. The third thing we talked about was black flies. They are not going to be supportive of any type of treatment
Okay.
in the national forest.
Right. I didn't think they would be.
Yeah.
Just,
So, those were the three.
and
main-
we're not aware of any treatment that'll work in the
right.
national forest. So,
Right.
right. Okay. All right. Good. All right. You had an issue you want to talk. What do we want to do? You want to go take a look at the
I've
buildings?
got a
or-
couple of really quick non-publics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Non-publics. Okay.
know what?
Do you wanna? We will.
We'll we'll bring the regular selectmen's meeting to close then at, there's nothing we need to vote on.
Right, we don't have anything.
At 3:55. I want to thank the public for attending today,
And you at home?
and for anybody who's listening at home.